Look, facing a visa cancellation or a re-entry ban in Australia, it's a really serious and honestly a pretty scary situation. The rules can feel so complicated, especially when the stakes are this high. So in the next few minutes, we're going to cut through all that complexity. We'll give you a clear roadmap of what these bans are, why they happen, and what you absolutely need to know to protect your future here. So, have you ever had a visa canceled or an application refused? You know exactly how stressful that is. Or maybe you're just worried about a future application. Either way, getting clear, reliable info is just crucial. And that's exactly what we're here to do. Break down the official rules into advice that actually makes sense. Okay, first things first. What are we actually talking about here? A re-entry ban, or what's officially called an exclusion period, is basically a timeout from Australia. It's a formal restriction that stops you from getting most types of visas for a certain amount of time. Right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this ban actually works. Understanding how long it lasts is, well, the first critical step. The standard re-entry ban is 3 years, and that's a long time to be locked out. But, and this is so important to know, in the more serious cases, this exclusion can actually be permanent. So yeah, this is definitely not something you want to take lightly. But how do you even end up with a ban? I mean, it doesn't just happen out of the blue, right? There are very specific triggers that the Department of Home Affairs is looking for. Well, it really boils down to two main things. First, overstaying your visa by more than 28 days. That 28-day mark is a really hard line. The second trigger, which is a bit more complex, is when the department actively cancels your visa for a specific reason. And that visa cancellation? Yeah, that can happen for a bunch of reasons. Sometimes it's about dishonesty, like giving them false documents. Other times it's about not following the rules, like breaching a visa condition by working when you're not supposed to. And it can also be about character, which includes things like being convicted of an offense while you're in Australia. Okay, so knowing the risks is important, but honestly, preventing it in the first place is the real game plan. So let's talk about the proactive steps you can take right now to protect your status. Protecting your status really comes down to 5 rules you just can't bend. It's a cycle of responsibility. You've got to comply with your visa conditions, and that includes leaving on time. While you're here, you have to maintain a valid visa, obey Australian laws, and in everything you do, always be truthful. These 5 pillars are your absolute best defense. At the end of the day, this is on you. The official advice is crystal clear. Check your visa grant letter, use the government's online systems, be 100% sure about your expiry date and your conditions. Because in the eyes of the department, saying, "I didn't know," is just never going to be an excuse. But, okay, what if it's already too late for all that prevention stuff? If you're already facing a cancellation, I know it's a scary time, but it's so important to know there is a clear process that they have to follow. The good news is you're not just going to be left guessing. The Department of Home Affairs is required to tell you in writing. This official letter or email will say your visa is canceled and spell out the exact exclusion period that now applies to you. You need to look for that document. It's your starting point. Now, just because you have a ban doesn't automatically mean it's game over. There's something called a waiver. It's important to get this right. It doesn't remove the ban, but it's you asking the department to set it aside for this one specific visa application. And here's a really important detail. The process is totally different depending on the kind of visa you want. If you're applying for a temporary visa, you can actively ask for the ban to be waived. But for permanent visas, it's another story. You can't request a waiver. Instead, the department will just automatically look at your entire immigration history when they make their final decision. So let's stick with that temporary visa path for a second, since that's where you can actually do something. How exactly do you make that request? What does the department really need to see from you? And listen, this is probably the most important thing to get. The bar here is set really high. You can't just say you want to come back. You have to prove that there are major, compassionate, or compelling reasons to set that ban aside. We're talking about things like urgent family matters, maybe unique work skills, or other really serious personal situations. So how do you do it? The process itself is pretty simple, really. Just 2 steps. Step 1, you have to explain everything in writing, in detail, about what your compassionate or compelling circumstances are. And step 2, you provide that written explanation right when you lodge your new visa application. It's a formal part of your whole submission. And one last thing, and this is absolutely critical. Getting a waiver approved doesn't mean you get a free pass on everything else. You still have to meet all the other standard requirements for that visa, including the health and character tests. No exceptions. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? While options like waivers do exist, your best strategy is and always will be just being proactive and following the rules. Knowing your obligations isn't just about paperwork, it's the foundation of your entire journey in Australia. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. Are you 100% clear on your visa obligations right now?